When you're walking through the emerald graves and find solace in wolf form stalking you.
So I have your word. I tell you, and you let me go.
Oh, he's so hot there. Holy shit.
Her name is Rainier. She is in Carinus, serving a magister by the name of Ehrman.
A servant, not a slave.
She's not a slave.
I believe you. We are done here.
Oh my God. I need a moment.
Let's get it on till the early morning, girl. It's all good, just turn me on, girl. Don't sweat it, don't get agitated, girl. Go and rotate, car. Anything you want, you know you must get it.
Since we're all gonna die, there's one more secret I feel I have to share with you. I did not care for the Godfather.
What?
Did not care for the Godfather.
How can you even say that,
Didn't like it.
Peter, it's so good.
I walk a lonely.
To start a new business. I created an empire before, and I could do it again.
Huh. You are really good at making money. Okay, I'm in.
What are you talking about? What value are you to me?
I'm desperate, so I'll do anything.
Okay, that's good.
I said enemies and lovers.
This is literally precisely why Dragon Age 2 is such a good game, and I will not stand for its slander, because it allows you to do the rivalmance function. No, I don't care that it has the same, like, 4 maps over and over and over again. I literally don't care. The characters are so good and rivalmancy. Like the fact that I can be a mage and support the mages and still romance Fenris. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Kiss. It's basically a dating sim with a good plot to me.
Gun isn't very edgy.
Something just happened.
Relax, guy. I like gay men, you know.
That's great, but I'm not gay.
I don't believe that.
DJ Khaled, we're the best! Who we?
Scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it?
Oh, I'd say it's about a 7-point arm ripped off.
My arm is what?
Since you got your degree, and you know every fucking thing.
Guilty. I sentence
Bro,
you. I sentence you to
stop.
I sentence.
Bro, I didn't do
sentence
anything.
you. Will you
Bro.
stop talking like that?
You ever get so tired you start seeing spiders? Me after I take 17 Benadryl and start seeing the Hat Man. The Who? Oh, is this not a safe space suddenly?
You actually were telling the truth. I do that quite a lot. Yet people are always surprised.
Masturbation is a form of witchcraft.
Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells.
Okay, we gonna need some DW40, and I'm gonna need a 40-piece toolbox. I can get this bitch open in about 10 to 15 minutes. I need y'all to back the fuck up and give me some space.
They mistook my kindness for weakness. I fucked up, I know that, but Jesus.
Who? Oh, you gorgeous little thing.
Listen, we can argue about Andrew's character and his intentions and his romance all day. But can we all at least get on the same page about the fact that the kissing noises are an assault on the human race?
This Dragon Age Inquisition character has the best codex entry page I've ever read. Storvacker is a bear that joins the Inquisition in the Jaws of Akan DLC in Dragon Age Inquisition. Listen to this and tell me if you recognize what this is from. Storvacker. How do I even begin to explain Storvacker? Storvacker is flawless. She has 2 ancient elven trees for claw sharpening and a silver honey dish. I heard that her claws are valued in Denerim at 10,000 sovereigns. I hear that she sells her shed fur to Orlesian master weavers in Val Royeaux. Her favorite story is Hardin Hightown. One time she met Alistair Theron, fabled warrior of the Fifth Blight, and he told her she was pretty. One time, she clawed me in the face. It was amazing. From Ruminations upon the Avar and Their Customs by Reginald de Georges.
Grey Wardens are one of Dragon Age's most important military forces, and the reason for this is they are one of the main warriors that in the times of the Blight fight back against the Darkspawn and risk their lives in order to slay the archdemons and save the surface world from the hellish spawn. The order was originally founded during the first Blight in order to fight back, and ever since they have been recruiting any and all volunteers across Thedas into the order to help them wage war when needed. Because this order does not discriminate against any race or peoples, it's common that many subjugated civilians like city elves will seek to join in order to find a sense of purpose and fairness in their lives where otherwise there was none. But the scariest part about the order is actually some of its most closely guarded secrets that many outsiders don't know fully about. The most notable of these is the actual ritual that one must undergo to actually become a Grey Warden, where an individual must drink from a goblet of Darkspawn blood mixed with a drop of Archdemon blood. Darkspawn blood on its own will kill most people, and mixed with a drop of blood from the Archdemon itself can result in one of the most harrowing experiences a person can undergo. And it's only those that survive this twisted ritual that are deemed strong enough to actually join the order. And from that point on, after drinking the blood, each member can now sense Darkspawn and Archdemons and becomes especially adept at fighting them. But while in the original Dragon Age game, these Grey Wardens play a very pivotal role in the main story, in the more modern days of Dragon Age Inquisition, that isn't the case. One of the main secondary plots in Inquisition is the idea of where have all the Grey Wardens even gone? While you can have one join your team and meet a couple others, usually they have dialogue lines alluding to the fact that they don't know where all of the other Grey Wardens have gone or what they're doing as of late. Some in the community have begun to speculate that many Grey Wardens may actually be in hiding, waiting for a secret 6th Blight that is about to ravage the world. Could something like this come into play in Dragon Age Dreadwolf? And if it does, could it result in the famed Order of the Grey Wardens coming back once again in full force to save the world? After all, the leaders of the Order must be up to something after all this time in game we aren't seeing most of them. In time we will surely figure out, but the even crazier and wild potential secret about the Grey Wardens that we can dive into right now is one that might have been under our noses the whole time. You see, we know that the Order was originally formed during the First Blight in order to combat the Darkspawn, but as to how exactly they were formed is hard to say. Some leading theories actually posit that the original formation came from the 7 Magisters of the Tevinter Imperium. But why would that be the case, you might ask? Well, that's where this gets really interesting. Because we know that one of the main goals of the 7 Tevinter Magisters was to usurp the old gods. It's why each of the 7 represented one of the old gods themselves, and why they all committed to the second sin of joining together physically into the Fade, the original cause of the First Blight. Or so it's argued in the Chantry and from the Maker. So if we know these Magisters had a vested interest in killing or taking over the old gods, wouldn't they then be the obvious ones who would create an order that sole goal was killing them? After all, remember that those archdemons that the Darkspawn summoned from deep underground to lead them are actually the 7 old gods that were banished underground by the Maker. At least if we believe what the Chantry tells us. Regardless of whether you believe the Maker and Chantry though, we do know for a fact that the Magisters wanted to overpower the old gods, and that the Grey Wardens are doing so by killing the archdemons, meaning the Tevinter Magisters may be the perfect fit for the secret behind the founding of the Grey Wardens. And if this theory is actually true, it may get even crazier, because we know from some lore documents in game that the Tevinter Magisters would be said to have the ability to jump bodies, with some reports in ancient Warden text slabs reporting similar things from the first Warden himself. So could it be that the first Grey Warden was actually a Tevinter Magister that has now over the years been jumping from one body to the next, leading the Order in an all-out war against the Darkspawn under the guise that they are saving the world, when really they're just trying to kill all the old gods, in order to create a power vacuum for the original Magisters? In my opinion, it's one of the coolest theories the Dragon Age community in recent times has latched onto, and I really hope BioWare can at least hint at this being sort of true in future games.
Well, to be honest, I'm a hetero guy, but I really try to be a good ally, and it ain't no secret, let me tell you why. It's because I love my wife, and my wife is bi.
My wife energy. Yes, my wife energy. My wife.
You know what? You are so absolutely right. And thus, I've come up with a list of 5 characters that should be able to hit on you, or you should be able to hit on them in all 3 games. Of course, we're starting off this list with the most predictable number 1 for me. Was there going to be an answer other than Tegan? No. He was down bad for the Warden. I guarantee you he was down bad for Hawk when he met them. And if it was actually the same character in Inquisition, he would have been down bad for the Inquisitor. Now, in the second spot, it is the man, the myth, the legend, Zevran Aranai. I mean, you can romance him in the first game. You can have an optional hookup with him in the second. He should have been in the third game. I guarantee you he would have seen the Herald of Andraste and been like, smash, right on sight. I love that for him. As long as he isn't with the Warden, of course. That and I just love Zevran, and I miss him, and I need to see more of him. So, anyway, my number 3 pick is my wife, Leliana. I love her romance and origins. It's great. But I'm so disappointed in Dragon Age 2 that when you see her, you can't hit on her as Hawk. My Hawk would have been so down bad. A travesty. And Inquisition really missed out by not allowing her as like a romance option, because she is such a different character than she was in the first game by this point, and it would be such an interesting journey. Of course, it was only conditional if she didn't romance the Warden, but still, it would have been so cool. And I mean, you can romance like the other 2 advisors, so I just want to marry Leliana again and again, so let me do that. Now, the 4th one, you're going to need to hear me out on a little. It's Varric. And I know what you're thinking, he's not in Origins. Well, this wouldn't be a problem if BioWare would remake Dragon Age Origins, put him in there for a little bit, and then also make him available to flirt with. I'm just saying, brilliant idea. I mean, you can flirt with him a little bit in Dragon Age 2, but it never goes anywhere, which is a travesty. He's literally soulmates with my Purple Hawk. Terrible. And also, you can't deny he does have a little bit of tension with the Inquisitor sometimes, so I'm just saying, I really need this. And the last, but certainly not least, is Isabella. You can optionally hook up with her in the first game, you can romance her in the second, and I think it's a travesty she could not meet the Inquisitor and immediately go like, let's make it 3 for 3. Terrible. But these were just the ones like off the top of my head. If you guys have any ideas, I would love to hear them.
Her name is Taylor Swift.
Oh, the police. Yeah. Yeah, 12 is my worst enemy.
He was my principal at my conservative private Christian boarding school.
That I'm doing better than that hoe?
She was my kindergarten bully. She said, "Did you even brush your hair today?" when we were in line.
My worst enemy is not a physical person, it's a spiritual entity.
How much time do you have? How sad are you willing to get?
Ooh. Oh no, I have quite a few.
I don't really have one. Now I imagine there are people where I'm their worst enemy. I imagine that.
My worst enemy is organized religious cults.
Sour cream. Oh my fucking god, I hate sour cream so much. It is the devil's juices.
Yeah, but I mean, if you really like this person, then you should see where it goes.
You want me to be happy?
Of course.
Part of the problem is she's the mother of a close friend of mine.
Oh.
More than a friend. A co-worker.
Oh. Gossip. Who is it? Who is it? Who is it, Michael? Who?
It's okay.
No. No. Oh my god! Oh my god!
That could have gone one of two ways, but I never expected her to get upset.
I want to be very clear. I have no problem with your sexuality. This is
Homophobe!
not... It's not a homophobe thing!
Both of the gay ones. I'm sorry, I'm
honestly, to be clear, I am very socially liberal. I am fiscally conservative.
Oh, bullshit.
What? I'm a libertarian!
I still sleep with a chew toy from when I was a kid.
I still have feelings for Diane.
Oh.
I'm feeling pissy, so you're getting some Dragon Age opinions that may or may not be hot takes. My issue with Vivienne is not her opinion on mages, though I do strongly disagree. I can also kind of understand where she is coming from. No, my issue with her is her unchecked classism. Alistair is not stupid, he is inexperienced and naive, but not stupid. He just likes pretending that he is, and he does a very convincing job of it. I've made it pretty clear that I don't like Anders in Dragon Age 2, but I didn't even like him in Awakening. There are some choices that the developers made in Dragon Age 2 that make Varric seem incredibly creepy, and had I not played Inquisition first, I would not like him as much as I do. Speaking of being creepy, this is probably going to be the ones that gets me the most amount of hate, but I don't like Bull, nor his relationship with Dorian. He comes across as being incredibly creepy to me, and he makes me deeply uncomfortable. He also does not respect Dorian's boundaries whatsoever. Both Sebastian and Cullen would have been better people had they not gone to Kirkwall specifically, and I think that they are both examples of non-sexual grooming. And speaking of Sebastian, who I have many, many unpopular opinions about, despite trying to convert everyone he talks to according to Varric, he comes across as being the most accepting of other cultures inside of Hawke's friend group. The only exception, and this may be purely because I'm misremembering things, is Bethany. Sebastian's reaction at the end of Dragon Age 2 is incredibly warranted in the fact that he spends the whole time that that argument is happening trying to convince Meredith to ignore all the other mages and focus on Anders, the person responsible, says a lot. While I think siding with the mages is absolutely the morally correct decision, the Templar one is far, far better written. Aveline is just as corrupt as the man she replaced, and her relationship with Donick is also incredibly unhealthy. Dorian and Anders would not get along whatsoever. Not only is Anders possessed, but he's also too much of an extremist. Second of all, while being raised into Vinter does explain Dorian's views on slavery, it does not excuse them, and the fact that only Solus is allowed to actually challenge him on that rubs me the wrong way.
Anders is oftentimes racist, sexist, hypocritical, and other things that I can't remember right now. And doesn't matter what the other character said to prompt that, because he will just say those things unprompted. There is not a single thing that Fenris says that warrants that kind of reaction from Anders, especially since Meryl is also an elf who definitely shouldn't warrant that kind of reaction from him.
Random Dragon Age facts that I refuse to accept. Number one is Anders and Varric not being Ranger. Now Varric, I do understand a little because his hair definitely depends on the lighting, but Anders, how is this man blonde? He's strawberry blonde at best. Number two is guns technically existing in Thedas. I mean, I don't know if they're really guns, but they definitely look like they are like crystal guns. Third and finally is these three not being bisexual. We were robbed! Emphasis on Cassandra and Alistair though, because it would have been a really good side bit to their romance of just that like acceptance bit similar to what we had with Dorian. That's it, thanks for watching.
Like we'll talk about Cass in the next one, but Cullen is like that close to making a breakthrough, and literally you can make him have that breakthrough in the game. Because where Cass, you know, she doesn't agree with some things in the Chantry, she doesn't agree with like how it's run, the operation of it. Cullen just straight up hates it. Cullen hates all of it, every aspect of it, down to the Templars he used to serve with. He hates it. But the only thing that like dwarfs Cullen's hate for Chantry is his fear of magic and mages. So while he hates the Chantry and hates the Templars, he feels like that's the only thing that is stopping mages from killing everyone. I promise, I swear to God, one day I will deep dive. But like a lot of the characters in Dragon Age, you can help them throughout the game and like help alleviate some of those fears.
I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me.
I actually remembered an obscure Dragon Age fact that isn't sad or horrifying. Then again, I'm not entirely sure how obscure it is either, because more people may know it than I think. But anyway, just in case. In Dragon Age Inquisition, when you're talking to Sarah about growing up in Denerim, she'll talk about how she doesn't remember the hero Ferelden very well. And of course your Inquisitor's like, what? How do you forget them? And she'll respond with something to the effect of, I was a little kid. I was collecting small painted boxes and burying things that I stole. That isn't the obscure fact. The obscure fact is, if you play Origins, when you go to the Circle Tower, one of the items you can find in, I believe, Irving's office is a small painted box. And what you do with it, you take it to Denerim and you give it to someone. You never meet them. You never see who they are. You give it to them through a door. And that's it. The warden gave Sarah her small painted box when she was a kid. You actually meet Sarah in the first game.
You mean to tell me this all happened because you were messing with the Shadow Man?
He was very charismatic.
Leliana is one of a handful of characters we see in every single Dragon Age game. But what makes her especially interesting is that she also is one we can kill in the first game, Dragon Age Origins. The reason this is so peculiar though is because regardless of whether we actually kill her or not, she always shows up in the next two games. And in Dragon Age Inquisition specifically, we'll even remark how she is not sure how she came back to life if you did indeed kill her in the first game. While this is most likely a retcon by BioWare to bring back a character into the main story that players could have killed early on, the in-lore explanation is a lot more intriguing. You see, what a lot of players don't know is that at the end of the Dragon Age Inquisition Trespasser DLC, the following ending credits can be seen if Leliana never became divine. Eventually, Leliana became distant and contemplative, often secluding herself in the rookery with none but her ravens for company. One morning, the residents of Skyhold awoke to a great beating of wings and a vast cloud of ravens blotting out the sky above the fortress. Those who investigated found both the rookery and Leliana's chambers vacant, with only a single message left as explanation. The lyrium sang thought into being. Now time is tale, and the melody is called elsewhere. Until I am needed, I am free. Something really strange is going on here. This last message left by Leliana seems to imply that she might be some sort of lyrium mind monster, and would explain how she was able to simply vanish without a trace. and the theory only gets crazier from here too. If we go back to Dragon Age Origins where it all started, some may remember the quest called In Hushed Whispers, where if Leliana has not been killed yet by the player, we can learn a story about how she was tortured and experimented on due to her extreme resistance to red lyrium and blight. We can read passages in this section that talk about how the scientists of the time were fascinated with her immense abilities and could not figure out what was going on with her. Furthermore, in the Leliana's Song DLC, at one point, Leliana starts to hear voices in her head after surviving a wound that should have killed her, instead releasing a flurry of talking heads that tell her, "Fight for those who can't." Something a sleeper agent would be told. And finally, in the World of Thedas Volume 2 lore book collection, we can find this entry. In Leliana's most vivid memory of her early childhood, she sees herself, a child of little more than 4, holding her mother's hand as they stand on the stone terrace of an Orlesian villa, looking out at the cresting waves of the waking sea. Behind them are gardens of sweet orange and lavender, but the only fragrance that stands out to Leliana is the gentle scent of her mother's gray linen dress. These days, Leliana is unsure if the moment is real or merely imagined, but cherishes it nonetheless, as it were one of the few images she retains of her Ferelden mother. Could it be that the reason that Leliana is so resistant to lyrium, the reason she seemingly comes back to life after dying, and the reason she has such a hazy memory of her past is because she's actually a mindless husk controlled by lyrium, simply set forth into the world to accomplish the task of someone else as a puppet? Leliana was never actually born. She simply is a mindless body that has been infused with fake memories from lyrium. It perfectly explains all the oddities with the character, and may mean that Titans or some other force are using her for something we aren't aware of yet. And considering she's part of the highest ranks of the Inquisition at the time when we play, would have access to the most top secret information available, and that may just come back to bite us in future games.
It broke my heart to put that tumor in her head. What? No, all right. I know that sounds bad.
I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me.
Yeah, I had a pretty sad childhood, but as I get older, I realize it keeps getting worse.
This is your man.
Yes.
Look at the screen.
That's mine.
And
I'm
that's what you're going to settle for.
I'm gonna stick with.
This gun isn't very edgy.
Something just happened.
But imagine how tired we are. Imagine how tired we are of it.
Yes, there is, and today we're going to be talking about it. Because I had no idea until I posted this video how many people were unaware that this existed. Today's going to be your crash course into Dragon Age TTRPG. For getting started, the most important thing that you'll need is the core rulebook. Now, these are out of print at the moment, so you will have to get yours secondhand. When I was getting mine, it took me a couple days to find one that was not only good quality, but also reasonably priced. I have no idea what the market looks like now, but that's just my experience. You will have to go digging a little bit, which is the shitty part. But let me open this baby up and show her to you because she is beautiful. It comes with a double-sided map. One side is Thedas, and then the other side is Ferelden. It has everything that you'd need. It has all your rules, all your character creation, spells, treasure. It has a big old lore section as well. All of this is just adventures. I think there's like 3 or so. Others I would highly recommend. First up is the Dungeon Master's Kit. This comes with your screen. Also has an adventure and it'll flashcard cheat sheets for you and your party. Certainly not least, Faces of Thedas. This one is if you want to add say Dorian into the mix. These are his stats. This is how you play him. It gives a little bit of lore to them too. Interesting thing about this one, it doesn't have everybody in here. It's selective, which is curious. And then lastly, Dragon Age is a 3d6 system. One of those dice is a separate color, different size, something to differentiate it, because that is the dragon die, and the number that you roll on that when you're rolling will determine how successful or unsuccessful you are at a roll. That is the very basics of it. Let me know if you guys have any other questions that I can answer, because I love Dragon Age and I love this tabletop and I want more people to play it.
That long ass dick didn't have any lube on it, so it felt like he was rubbing his wood in my hole and starting a bonfire. All I could do was bury my...
I didn't do fucking shit. I didn't fucking do this. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about any of this. I'm done. Do what you want.